And we know that from when we go to the hospital and we take an old Percocet. And you take a Percocet and you be like, oh, wait a minute, this drug kind of dangerous. Wait a minute, doc. You might not want to prescribe me them Percocets. You might want to prescribe me. What is it they giving us now? That everybody like, what the fuck is this? What is this? Tramadol. Well, hello there, love bugs. Hello there, Bellas. If you have not already done so, please remember to like, share to Facebook, subscribe, and visit uptopbeauty.com. And if you are not already a part of our book club, please hit the Patreon link below and or the join button here on the YouTube. And for a small monthly fee of $5, you babies, yes, you can be privy to all the shenanigans before the YouTube gets it, if the YouTube gets it. Now, y'all, we're going to do a lot of reading in this episode, okay? I'm going to try not to act like a ninja, okay? You guys know I do it so well, okay? But welcome to the final hours of Marvin Gaye. In the late summer of 1983, Marvin Gaye's madness accelerated. He closed himself off in his parents' home, sleeping in his bedroom next to Mother. Next to Mother's bedroom was Father's. Things weren't right between my husband and myself then, said Mrs. Gaye. He had sold our house on Barnum in Washington, but he hadn't given me my half of the proceeds. All this got Marvin even more upset than usual. He always seemed to be caught in the middle. He also started taking more drugs. He'd even do it when I was there. I have tears in my eyes as I watched him, and each time he'd say, Mother, this is the last time. I promise, the last time. With Marvin high on coke and his father a few steps down the hallway drunk on vodka, the atmosphere was poisoned by chemicals, memories, and mutual antagonism. Larkin Arnold, like Berry Gordy before him, did everything he could to drag Marvin into the recording studio. In addition to Barry White's work, producer Leon Silvers was preparing songs for Gaye. Earlier, Marvin had mentioned to friends that he wanted to update and re-release You're the Man, his political single from 1972. He never did. Even closer to home, Brother Frankie and his friend Les Temple had written, arranged, and produced an entire album, an inspired work which Marvin had promised to sing. The project might well have been the resolution of a lifetime of sibling rivalry. Gaye was finally going to record with his brother. Appropriately enough, the album was called Together, You and Me. But Marvin was too sick to sing, too sick to leave the house. At times, he was incoherent. He told Bobby Womack, for instance, you know that book is on the list, y'all. He told Bobby Womack, for instance, that he'd sing a duet on Womack's new album. The next day, though, he'd forgotten the promise and denied having the conversation. It was Womack, an old friend, who said Marvin had a lot of love, more than normal, for his mom. What the hell does that mean? What do y'all think that means? I told y'all I'm not going to be a ninja. Okay, I'm going to act right today. You know, I'm not going to say nothing crazy because I'm trying to show respect for the man. You know, despite him blowing the fuck out of me in this book, I still have mad respect for the man. But what y'all think it means? Well, let me reread it again. Hold on. What did he say? It was Womack, an old friend, who said that Marvin had a lot of love, more than normal, for his mom. That's not my words. That's Bobby the Womack's words. Not mine. Even Mother, his staunchest defender, couldn't deny what was happening. He was turning into a monster, she told me. They kept coming by and giving him drugs. They won't stay away, Marvin said. Just throw the drugs in the toilet, son. I pleaded with him. But he didn't have any willpower. He just stayed in that room looking at the guns. Guns were always on his mind. Months went by. Fall came. A dry, warm winter saw him even more afraid. He wanted to die, Sister Jean said. He couldn't take it anymore. A man in prison can feel free in his soul, said Frankie, discussing his brother's last days. Or a free man like Marvin can feel locked in prison forever. I spent the whole night with Marvin just a week or so before he died, Clarence Paul told me. You know, Clarence Paul is the co-producer of Fingertips. He used to work for Motown. Just a friendly reminder, y'all. I don't think y'all stupid. I'm just, just in case the new ninjas that come around here, always got something to say. Well, let's talk about this. Let's talk about that. Okay, this is a book club, y'all. This is what we do. We read books, okay? And then I provide my commentary on the book, okay? That is what YouTube is about. Commentary on BuzzSnap, okay? All you niggas that come by talking that shit to me. Don't be talking that shit to me. You don't know me, nigga. I'd given up coke. And I knew that Clarence Paul was on drugs. Something told me that Clarence Paul, because they had some interactions before. I'm like, Clarence Paul, what the hell are you doing hanging out with the Mobby Poo if you ain't smoking the cracky? Okay? But I knew it. I'd given up coke, and Marvin asked how. Just didn't want the feeling anymore, I told him. He acted amazed. He was also frightened to death. He had me standing guard at the window looking for whoever was supposed to come by to kill him. Now, hold on. Let me tell you something that my uncle had said to me, okay? I have an uncle named Finey, or I had an uncle named Finey. Why? Because he was fine. And I think Uncle Finey was an Aquarius, okay? And was he a ladies' man? I am telling you, the ladies loved him. But anyway, he had a heroin addict. Because my uncle got hooked on it in Vietnam. One of my uncles came back an alcoholic. Another one came back a junkie, right? So he told me, he was like, when I get tired of the feeling, or if I'm not enthused to, get the feeling anymore, then I just, go back to work. It was strange that he would have these times where he was in the street, he doing his thing, he putting his work in, feeding his habit. And then just all of a sudden he would get another good government job. The cool part about him was in his arms where he used to shoot up, he would have these butterflies in his arms. Okay. It was sick, but at the same time, it was beautiful. You know what I'm saying? Because you know what heroin does for you. It gives you that euphoric feeling, right? It does. And we know that from when we go to the hospital and we take an old Percocet. And you take a Percocet and you be like, oh, wait a minute, this drug kind of dangerous. Wait a minute, doc. You might not want to prescribe me them Percocets. You might want to prescribe me. What is it they giving us now? That everybody like, what the fuck is this? What is this? Tramadol. That's how some people graduate into heroin, because they can't get them Percocets. So next thing you know, they shooting dope. That was all the way over to the left. I'm so sorry, but you know how we do over here. He had me standing guard at the window looking for whoever was supposed to come by to kill him. There ain't no killer, Marvin, I said. You're making this shit up. Who the hell would want to kill you? He said he couldn't tell me. Said it was real complicated, but I didn't believe him. There were reports that Marvin's fury in the final months was unleashed against women, that he went as far as kicking one down the staircase of the Gramercy Place home. Yes, there were these women around, Mother said, who he treated terribly. And an English woman and a Japanese girl. He lost control and hit them. My poor son, turned into a monster. Listen, mothers, I'm getting preachy. I'm sorry. Mothers, when you allow your daughters to see you get your ass whipped, you're telling your daughters that it's okay. And that's a version of love. Abuse, mental or physical, is never a version of love. The guns, the violence against women who still pursued him. Women he could no longer please. Women who only reminded him of his own impotence. In the last week of his life, he fell even lower. I can't describe how terrible he looked, said Irene Gay, who bought him his food every day for the final months of his life. He'd gone completely crazy. He couldn't even put on his clothes, and when he did, he dressed like a bum. April 1st, 1984 was a typical Sunday morning in Los Angeles. Back in the Crenshaw district, Marvin Gaye Sr. watched from the living room window as a number of churchgoers walked by the house on Gramercy Place that his son had bought his wife and him 11 years earlier. Damn, they only was in that house for 11 years? Mr. Gay regarded the passerby with disapproval. These people were going to church on the wrong day. The Hebrew Bible insists that the Sabbath is Saturday, not Sunday. He turned his attention from religious matters to the mundane. A letter concerning insurance was missing. Who had taken it? Who had misplaced it? It was now nearly noon, and Father was furious that he couldn't put his fingers on the letter he'd been hunting for hours. He was also annoyed that Marvin Jr. had been living in the house for the past 6 months. Their relationship, like a festering scab on an old wound, had only worsened. Their fears for one another had turned deadly, poisonous. In Marvin's mind, he had long ago taken over as head of the household. He, not Father, was providing for Mother, but Gay Sr. had never accepted the fact. Not then, not now, and especially not in these past few months. His paranoia had reached debilitating proportions. He was afraid to leave his room. He could speak of nothing except suicide and death. Frozen with fear, he waited for his killer like a trapped animal. On those few occasions when he ventured from the house high on coke, he put his shoes on the wrong feet and wore 3 overcoats at once as he stumbled out onto the freeway overpasses until someone caught him and brought him back home. Girl, I don't know if that's coke, baby. That might be dippers, because he is from D.C. Now, listen. You know, I know out there in California, y'all smoke that angel dust, okay? But what's going on is a lot of the former crack users decided to change to PCP because it's a longer, crazier high. Like literally, you could be around with your guts hanging out for 24 hours and not even know that your guts is hanging out, okay? Ooh, one time, child, over there on the south side, what happened was this dude was high on dippers, right? And he approached the wrong dude, okay? And the dude had stabbed him up real bad. I mean, stabbed him up like, get out my face, bro. I might have to kill you. The dude didn't die. He was like walking around on the south side like forever, okay? With his guts hanging out. You know, people at the bus stop like, not only is you naked, but do you know that your guts is hanging out? 4 days before the tragedy, Gene Gay told me Marvin tried to kill himself by throwing himself out of a car going 60 miles an hour. He was only bruised, but there's no doubt he wanted to die. Marvin was frantic, unable to accept help or to help himself. Father watched his son's friends come through the house at all hours and resented the intrusion. He knew Marvin was consuming frightening large quantities of cocaine, just as Marvin knew that Father was usually drunk on vodka. Like 2 cats fighting over territory, they each wanted the other out of the house. The final battle, long suppressed, had been building for 4 decades. The smoldering acrimony had reached a boiling point. both sick victims of different chemical addictions, both highly spiritual men who had fallen from their own set of lofty moral standards. Father and son saw their own demise in one another's eyes. Their primal love for each other had turned to primal hate. Father Gay had to find that letter.
Impatiently, he shouted to his wife, his voice carrying up the staircase of the enormous home. In one section of the second story were 3 bedrooms. Mother's room was flanked by her husbands and sons, a perfect symbol of the position she had long tried to maintain, keeping them from each other's throat. Marvin was in his bed wearing a maroon robe, Mother by his side. Both whisperers, quiet speakers, they spoke in sweet, delicate voices. Trying to soothe her son's troubled psyche, Alberta Gay, a deeply religious 71-year-old woman, often read him the Bible, offering her usual potion of optimism and hope. But recently, her energy had been depleted. It had been only 18 months since she had nearly died of a kidney ailment. Also suffering excruciating pain in her legs, she was barely able to walk.
The voice of his screaming father cut through Marvin like a knife. He shouted back downstairs, telling Father that if he had something to say to Mother, he better do so in person. Stop yelling in my goddamn house. Marvin around there, barking orders. You can't bark orders. Ain't nobody gonna pay attention to you, especially if they around there drinking a white liquor. Frustrated by his inabilities to find the letter, Gay Sr. walked up the staircase in fury. He entered his son's bedroom where he scolded his wife. Marvin leaped to his mother's defense, ordering Gay Sr. out of the room. Father stood his ground until his son, despondent, enraged, half-crazed, shoved him out the room into the hallway. Marvin hit him, Mother Gay told me. I shouted for him to stop, but he paid no attention to me. He gave my husband some very hard licks. In the past, Father had made it very clear, Jean Gay explained to me, that if Marvin were to strike him, he'd murder him. Father said so publicly on more than one occasion. Later, Gay Sr. would claim that his son kicked and beat him brutally. Finally, Mrs. Gay was able to separate the men and talk her son into returning to his bedroom. Minutes later, Father appeared at the door. He seemed composed. In his hand, he held a .38 caliber revolver, which Mother remembered Marvin having given her husband 4 months earlier. At the time, Marvin said that having several guns in the house gave him a feeling of protection. Father aimed, then squeezed the trigger. Flaming red, heat spread over Marvin's chest. The bullet ripped through Marvin's heart, his body slumping from the bed to the floor. Father waited, took a few steps forward, aimed the gun again, and this time at point blank range fired. Afraid of being shot next, traumatized by the murder which she just witnessed, Mother Gay screamed for the mercy of God. I could hardly walk, Mrs. Gay told me. My legs were very, very weak, but somehow I got out of Marvin's bedroom and swung my body down the staircase, all the time begging my husband not to shoot me. I ain't gonna shoot you, he said, but I didn't believe him. Girl, he ain't gonna shoot you. Who gonna bring him his bacon in the morning and his pancakes? Sorry. I told you I was going to act right. My bad. Father followed her downstairs, took a seat on the front porch, threw the gun on the lawn, and waited for the authorities. At 1 p.m. at the California Hospital Medical Center, Marvin Gay Jr. was pronounced dead. The next day, April 2nd, the singer would have been 45 years old. His agonizing struggle with life was finally over. At his funeral the next day, April 5th, 1984, his band came together and played his music. Bishop Simon Peter Rollins, head of the House of God, traveled from Lexington, Kentucky to lead the services in his robe and hat decorated with oversized stars of David. Dick Gregory spoke from the pulpit, saying how he wished Mr. Gay Sr. were there so he could tell him that he loved him. Stevie Wonder sang Marvin a song. Smokey Robinson said farewell, his voice fluttering with grief. Larkin Arnold spoke. Marvin's friend Cecil Jenkins sang the Lord's Prayer. Anna and Marvin the third, Janice and Nona and Frankie, Bubby Christian with tears streaming down his cheeks, Zoila and Jean and Frankie and Irene and little April, Marvin's half-brother, Michael Cooper and Barry Gordy and Quincy Jones. They were all there. Mother bent over his body, kissed his cheeks, and wept. The coffin was closed. The next day he was cremated, and on a ship at sea, Anna and his 3 children threw his ashes to the wind. Jet magazine carried the photo. For days afterward, crowds slowly drove by the Gramercy Place home, stopping to stare, placing flowers in wreaths, looking to catch a glimpse of the bereaved family. I have no doubt that this is exactly how Marvin chose to die, Jean told me when we spoke after the funeral. This way, he accomplished 3 things. He put himself out of misery. He brought relief to Mother by finally getting her husband out of her life. And he punished Father by making certain that the rest of his life would be miserable. I do believe that Marvin was very crazed and disturbed. But even at that point, in his own way, my brother knew just what he was doing. Motown and CBS began fighting over Marvin's unissued recordings. Early indications were that Larkin Arnold had convinced Mother that Gaye's contract gave CBS the right to her son's unreleased masters, which she and Frankie had kept in storage. Arnold was compiling that material and planning a record for the winter of 1984. At the same time, Barry Gordy was planning a movie on Marvin's life, though the Gaye family complained that he offered them very little for the rights. Meanwhile, biographers outside of the company wanted to quote from Gaye's Motown songs were refused permission. Father pleaded not guilty, and while in jail was interviewed once, saying that he didn't think the gun had real bullets. Girl, well, he is a Libra, okay? And, from time to time, we will lie, okay? We will lie, okay? It's mostly them Libra men because they be weasel. With Libra women, if you put craziness on top of it, yeah, we will tell you some far-fetched bullshit. Father pleaded not guilty, and while in jail was interviewed once saying that he didn't think the gun had real bullets. Only Sweet C visited him, bringing Jet magazine along to take pictures. She told the magazine that there was no truth to the rumor that her parents had been separated. She also denied, Jet wrote, that her father and Marvin had a history of confrontation. Later in April, a medical examiner revealed a walnut-sized brain tumor in Father's head. The tumor was successfully removed in May, and a Superior Court judge ruled him mentally competent to stand trial. The court-appointed psychiatrist said Gaye continued to provide consistent story regarding the shooting of his son, which he labels as self-defense. How you label that shit self-defense? From what I understand, okay, if somebody whoop your ass and you leave and you come back, that's murder, girl. Self-defense is getting away from that nigga and calling the police. Well, this is what the police want you to do, okay, even though it makes no friggin' sense. But somebody whooping your ass, you're supposed to allow them to whoop your ass, because if you get out on them, okay, then you're going to be charged. On June 18th, after 49 years of marriage, Mrs. Gaye sued her husband for divorce. 2 days later, she arranged for a $30,000 bond, allowing him to leave jail and return to the Gramercy Place home. Meanwhile, Mrs. Gaye had moved in with her daughter Jean. On September 20th, 1984, Father pleaded no contest to a reduced charge of voluntary manslaughter. According to the Los Angeles Times, Judge Ronald George accepted the plea after seeing police photos taken shortly after the shooting of massive bruises on Gaye Sr.'s body. Relying on the lawyer's misreading of the coroner's report, the judge also noted that PCP was found in Marvin, a drug which can induce violence. Yeah. Again, let me tell you something. Them niggas love them dippers back home. They do. They love it. Young people, old people, ex-addicts, addicts to come. But the potency of it, okay? Man, some people can handle that stuff, but they really can't. Because I told you I had this one dude that was on paper with me. Every time he would smoke dippers, he would write bad checks. I'd be like, what is going on? It's like he would, pick it up and put it down. But when he picked it up, he turned it to a scammer. Relying on the lawyer's misreading of the coroner's report, the judge also noted that PCP was found in Marvin, a drug which can induce violence. Later, when told that the coroner's report said just the opposite, that no other drugs except traces of cocaine were evident in Gay, he could have smoked that shit 2 days ago, because I think dippers only stay in your system for maybe 2 days or 24 hours, something like that. That don't mean he wasn't smoking it. What's said in this book, him walking out the house with shoes on the wrong feet and 13 coats, that's dipper. Judge George said the PCP question hadn't been a major factor in his decision anyway. On November 2nd, that's a lie. That is a lot. Maybe in they in Los Angeles or California. They smoke that just as much as the people in DC. But y'all call it angel dust over there. So that's a lie. That's a lie. I don't know you, Judge. I don't want you to come around here and come get my ass. I don't know you like that. On November 2nd, 1984, Gay Sr. was sentenced to 5 years probation, thus avoiding jail. The judge was persuaded by the argument that a drug-crazed Marvin had attacked him twice before. Father shot him in self-defense. How? Bugs. Listen, don't forget that this Friday, April 22nd, we will be doing the live Q&A cash giveaway on the Facebook fan page. If you have not already joined, please go down in the description bar and hit the link for the fan page. That's the only Facebook handle that I have up right now in the description bar. Okay, if you want to participate, go on over there. Okay, now if you have not already done so, please remember to like, share the Facebook, subscribe, and visit uptopbeauty.com. Now remember this, the same people that you meet, y'all see my glasses. I wear some thickums. The same people you meet on the way up will always be the same people that you meet on the way down. My naysayers, my patron loves you babies. Have a good one. Peace.